Greetings ladies and gentlefish, welcome to another video, and today we're going to have a look at a pair of Soviet medium tanks. These are going to be two of the tier 7s, kicking off proceedings with the KV-13. Now I do have a series of videos and indeed a review of the KV-13. It's a little old now, but broadly speaking it should still be relevant. It's actually quite a fun machine, or at least that's what I found. Being driven for us today by Shelbigud 520. I'm just going to call him Shell, or maybe Shelly. That'll do, because otherwise it just looks like a bit of a random selection of letters. He's top tier, this therefore being a tier 7 game, and we're here on Windstorm, which as maps go is okay. Now if you actually look at the matchmaking, there are no top tier heavy tanks. There's only a couple of top tier tanks on each team, and the KV-13 actually gets basically the same hull as the IS. It's only the turret that's a bit weaker, so it gets pretty good armour. And in a pinch it can act a bit like a heavy tank. So coming over to the city over here is not a terrible idea. If we look at what heavy tanks, for example, he might come across, VK3601H may have trouble penetrating him depending on the gun he's using and how good he is at aiming. And ditto applies for both the KV-1 and the Churchill. So going over into the city wouldn't actually be a terrible idea. As it is, it looks like Shelley is thinking about how this game is going to pan out, and potentially looking at the fact that there are quite a lot of friendly tanks already in the town, although that Churchill did just evaporate. And it looked like he might have been pondering going over, well, away from the town. So the gun this thing gets, it's the same 85mm gun that you get on the T-43. That's one of the other tier 7 medium tanks for the Soviets. And indeed that's the same gun you get on the T-34-85 at tier 6. And there goes the T-37 for kill number 1. So you get 180 damage, 140 something penetration, 144 penetration. That's with your AP rounds. With your HE rounds you actually get 300 alpha, which is quite a lot. And with your APCR your penetration goes up to closer to 200, 194. But Shelley hasn't packed any APCR on this occasion. Now the fight appears to be going badly on both flanks, which is a little problematic. I will be honest, I would have liked to have seen Shelley get stuck in a little bit more. With this matchmaking, he has a lot of armour. He could really bully the hell out of some opponents. Now, the thing to be slightly cautious of is that a lot of the enemy tank destroyers went into the town, and so that really limited the amount of armour, how useful his armour was going to be. And if we look at it over on the other flank, well, we've got a couple of lower tier tanks. Or Firefly, to be fair. There's the Jagdpanther, takes a shot, backs off, and bounces a return fire. Now the thing about the KV-13 is that the gun depression isn't great. The T-43, the other tier 7, definitely gets the better of the gun depression, but while this Jagdpanther is coming down the hill, Shelley uses the opportunity to put a shot into him and actually finish him off as he manages to take most of his health off coming down that hill. Now one thing Shelley does that I'm not a huge fan of, he does take quite a lot of shots in third person. I would argue too many. I think some of the shots he's taken he would have been better served by actually aiming them properly. Now don't get me wrong, third person has its uses, I just think Shelley uses it a little bit too much. And therefore misses some shots that he might otherwise have made. Nonetheless, things appear to be going okay. And SU-100Y. There we go, aims in for this one and then of course bounces, because screw you. SU-100Y doesn't get fantastic armour, so that was a slightly unlucky shot. Looks like he was hitting the side at an extreme angle. But the third shot is the charm and does the business. SU-100Y, the other one now, the two guys I believe are in a platoon. Yes they are, and between them they have 8 kills. So they've basically wrecked the town. Just tag teamed the town down. Now unfortunately, Shelley here is left with his OI Experimental, who I believe is on quite low health, against the encroaching horde. On the flip side, the encroaching horde is a lower level than him, and that shot you just saw there in third person is an example of the sort of shot I'm talking about, where I would really have liked to see Shelley take it in first person, you know, in sniper mode. Ooh, artillery just misses him, and Shelley bounces on the KV-1, but he should reload before this guy, and go into sniper mode, go into sniper mode. Why would you not go into sniper mode there? Anyway, I'm going to stop whinging about it. Shelley likes taking a lot of shots in third person, it appears, and as I say, I would argue too many. Friendly OI Experimental has bitten the dust, and so Shelley has to be worried about his rear. Now, he doesn't actually have the gun depression to use this kind of ridgeline nicely, and takes an artillery shot to the rear there, which is a little suboptimal. And there's another shot to the rear, that's the T-67. So Shelley turns around to deal with him, giving the guy his entire side, which again I don't like. And there's a Wolverine. So this is a really rather dicey situation. He needs to focus people down, and he needs to do it quickly. There goes the Wolverine. Next, Chinukai. Should be a one-shot. There goes the Chinukai. Next, worry about the T-67 behind you. There goes the T-67. Again, I would like to have seen that shot in first person, but never mind. And now the KV-1. Again, that shot should have been in third person, but anyway. You can kill the KV-1, then he's just left with a Churchill 1 and a couple of artillery pieces. So this game suddenly starts looking like it might be winnable. One of the artillery ship has fired and found its mark, and there's a Churchill 1. He's behind you. And, yeah. So, okay. Shelley was busy typing in chat there. In this sort of situation, don't worry about typing in chat. It's irrelevant. It's just venting your own frustrations. Completely irrelevant. Doesn't help you win and can get you killed. If the Churchill had slightly better marksmanship, he could have killed this guy. He could have killed Shelley here in 2 shots. And all because Shelley was typing a frustrated message to his teammates. Anyway. Churchill 1, and as I say, that pair of artillery pieces. Shelley is going the long way round, so if he can take out the artillery, then he can engage the Churchill 1 without worrying about taking high explosive death to the run, which would be, you know, optimal, let's be honest. So Shelley is driving all the way around. Now in this situation, he's got 12 rounds of HE. As he's hunting artillery, I would load them. The HE rounds on this gun have 300 alpha and 44 penetration, so they should be perfectly capable of wrecking artillery, and it would allow him to one-shot that M44, for example. You know, he obviously has to hit the guy. M44 has gone off. GW Panther is over to his left-hand side, but he might have been able to kill that guy in one shot with a carefully aimed HE round. Instead, it takes 2. This guy will take 2. Okay, I say this guy would take 2 anyway. With average damage rolls, he'd kill him with 2 shots from his AP rounds. Low rolls would fail to kill him though, whereas HE, as long as it's carefully aimed, will guarantee the kill in 2 shots. Or possibly even 1. So again, HE would be the round of choice here. You could aim it into the sort of turret of the GW Panther, that's where the armour is really weak. And I believe that GW Panther had fired, so Shelley could have gone up and killed him. Now I appreciate he's under pressure because the Churchill has started capping, so I understand his reluctance to do so. But if you're going to carry 12 HE shells, you may as well use them. As I say, the HE shells for this gun are actually pretty good. So, making his way over toward the enemy base here. Sorry, the friendly base here, not the enemy base. Just going to speed this along a little bit until Shelley gets back into the action. Now, you could argue about whether Shelley should have taken on the artillery or not, but as it is, he manages to get the reset on the Churchill, and he's not angling his armour particularly well, and he takes a hit from the Churchill for it. Now, against the Churchill here, you don't really want to be engaging the guy at long range. Churchill has a more accurate gun with comparable penetration, and the accuracy on the KV-13 is not great, and if you're going to show the guy your armour, try and show it at a good angle. You know, flat sides. Basically, the Shelley here is a 2-shot for this Churchill. Churchill's gun does something like 145 alpha damage if he's got the top gun. As it is, Shelley gets a little bit lucky and polishes the fellow off. Artillery misses, and again, this is where I would be switching to the high explosive rounds in order to really polish off that GW Panther. Again, just going to speed this up a little bit until Shelley gets back into the action, as he goes to find that artillery piece. Now, Shelley appears to be taking quite a long route round, possibly thinking that the enemy artillery will be expecting him to take a much shorter route, and there is the enemy artillery, who of course has now, well, who might have spotted Shelley. We don't know here. We don't know. I don't think Shelley has Sixth Sense. I haven't noticed it going off. There's the shot from the artillery piece. He'll be reloading now, so Shelley can just go forward and kill this guy with impunity. You know, the guy will be reloading for something like 20 to 30 seconds. So again, HE rounds would be the round of choice here. Aim for that turret section, and 2 shots will pretty much guarantee the kill. As it is, he gets slightly... high enough damage rolls with the AP shells to kill the GW Panther. Thinking about it, actually, the GW Panther, did he have 320 or 360 health? If he had 360, then I was right. If he had 320, then 2 AP rounds should have done the job anyway. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go and have a look at the results for this one. So, here we go. That was enough for Ace Tanker, Hand of God Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Steel Wall Defender, High Caliber Pascucci's, a Kolobanov's Medal, and a Paul's Medal for those 11 kills. 3,758 damage done, 11 kills, 1,588 base experience. Easily outstripping anyone on either team. If you look at who came second on the friendly team, it was an OI Experimental, who of course was a bottom tier tank in that matchmaking. 40 shots fired, 31 hits, 25 pens for the damage count. Most of it was from relatively close range. Received 11 hits, of which 6 penetrated, 5 did not. If he'd been making better use of his armour, that number could have been rather different, and he could have bounced a few more. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 11 damaged, 11 destroyed, all the base defense points, and over 5 kilometers travelled, with a standard account making a 29,000 credit profit. With a premium account, that would have been a 51,000 credit profit. Now, I certainly don't think that was a perfectly played game. In fact, I think at several points Shelley could have played that considerably better and got rather lucky, to be honest. Although you could argue, yeah, he was unlucky that you know, his team was a bit naff. Well, yes, but in the engagement at the end, there were several points where really Shelley should have died. But anyway, let's not take anything away from that, because it was still a very, very good result. Let's move on to another one. Here we are then with our second game. This is in the T-43, of course, being one of the other Tier 7 Soviet medium tanks. And again, very favourable matchmaking. There's only 2 Tier 7s on each team, one of which is artillery, and this is Ensk. Artillery does not like Ensk. Ensk is a small map, mostly dominated by a town, and so artillery really struggles to make its presence known. Driving the KV-13 for us today is Old Skull. Sorry, not the KV-13, that was the last game, the T-43, my apologies. Now, if you compare the two... Oh, that was a bit unlucky. If you compare the two, the T-43 gets the faster rate of... well, they basically both get the same gun. The KV-13 arguably gets better armour, and in my experience, better mobility. The T-43 gets better gun depression, faster rate of fire on the gun, but does sit on fire a lot. Again, I've got a full review of this tank on my channel, and it's rather more recent than the KV-13 review. Anyway, again, in this sort of matchmaking, Old Skull in the T-43 can kind of perform a little bit like a heavy tank. Personally here, I'd have taken the shot and backed off. We know roughly where that TD is. You know, he could well be looking at you. I don't know if Old Skull has Sixth Sense in this game or not. Either way, moving forward. Looking at what Old Skull is facing, Cromwell, KV-85, you know, these guys have guns who are perfectly capable of hurting Old Skull, but he should be able to do a lot of damage to them as well. There was another example, much like the previous game, an example where Old Skull in this case took a shot in third person, where I think he would have been much better served going into sniper mode, and as it turns out, he could have secured the kill on that KV-85. But he didn't. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't make that much difference. The KV-85 died anyway, but You want to make sure, you know, the enemy team dies when you have the opportunity to kill them, because otherwise things can go badly wrong. Now, Old Skull, to his credit, has, you know, he can hear the siren on the capture counter, he can see a mini-map, he is heading back to base to defend against the oncoming horde. Currently consisting of a Cromwell Berlin, an E-25, and soon to be followed by an A-43. So, Cromwell takes a big hit to the face from the artillery. Old Skull puts a shot in. Another shot, leaving the guy on 11 health. If Old Skull angles his armor a little bit here, he can bounce the shot, but as it is, it doesn't make any difference anyway. Scoreline is, of course, 5-9. E-25 now, and Old Skull manages to put a shot into him. Should take 2 more shots to kill this E-25. And there's one of them. I don't like this. I think Old Skull could have fought that engagement a little bit better. E-25 has a better rate of fire, so by going and exposing himself for the entire duration of his reload to that E-25, he just allowed him to put another shot, or maybe 2, I can't remember, into Old Skull. So, A-43 now. Cromwell, who is with Old Skull, is on very low health, and there's just the 2 of them left at this point, and the A-43 takes him out, but not before Old Skull puts him in the 1-shot range. One more shot, as I say, to finish this guy off, and there we go, but he does take a hit for his troubles. Now, Old Skull is alone and against, well, for a moment it was against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opponents. This is not looking particularly good. If the enemy team come at him as a concentrated unit, Old Skull is screwed. And now he's angling his armor relatively well, manages to kill that Cromwell, and suddenly it's 1 versus 6. But of course, the enemy team don't come at him all at once. They appear to be coming at him in dribs and drabs, which is a terrible idea. That takes out the T-34-85. It also helps that most of these guys are on pretty low health. They've been beaten up quite badly during the course of this game, and there's the FV. 1 versus 4. SU-100Y is a 2-shot. Now this is a bit dicey because depending on what ammunition the SU wants to use, Old Skull is either a 1 or a 2-shot. As it turns out, he manages to not die there, although he is on 43 health, and executes the SU-100Y. 1 versus 3, but Old Skull is only on 43 health now. Hummel, Hellcat, and a GW Panther. There's the Hummel. And, ooh, 1 shot in, sets the Hummel on fire. Hummel burns to death. Very nice result there, and now it's 1 plays 2. Of course, this is not a foregone conclusion. At 43 health, frankly, the GW Panther can splash him and kill him, and if the Hellcat were to load HE, he would probably do enough damage to kill him here. And of course, the AP rounds are perfectly capable of killing him. And to be fair, the T-34-85 in chat is congratulating Old Skull on how the game is going. So, it's nice to see. It's nice to see when people have the gumption, if you will, to do that. So, Hellcat, GW Panther. This is potentially a little bit risky. Hellcat was last spotted over close to the enemy spawn. Now, one has to wonder, is that Hellcat actually in this game, or is he AFK? There's the GW Panther. 1 shot again with, if he loaded HE with this second round, he could have taken the guy out. Well, he does it with the AP round anyway. And it wouldn't have actually made a difference. The GW Panther had already fired. Now, in this particular engagement against a Hellcat, I would be loading HE because the Hellcat's hull is made of tissue paper, wishful thinking, and it sets on fire really easily. Has 570 health, I think, the Hellcat, so 2 penetrating HE rounds would kill him, as opposed to like 3 or 4 AP rounds that would be required before AP rounds with average damage rolls. So I would be loading high explosive here. Now, of course, if you do that, you do run the risk of going into tracks and hitting the gun mantler and things like that, and then not doing full damage. But and the guy is not actually on full health. Now, he's not AFK, he is moving. I'm not sure quite why he's over there. And as I say, I would be loading high explosive here. And, oh, he does the battle of the reloads, which is a little bit risky right at the end there, but it actually works out. So, let's go and see the results for this one. So, there we go. Ace Tanker, Hand of God, Bruiser, Arsonist, Fighter, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, Top Gun, Pascucci's Medal for 3 artillery kills, I think that's a Pascucci's, Radley Walters for the, I think it's 9 kills in the end, and another Kolobanov's Medal. 3,463 damage done, 9 kills, 1,504 base experience, and most of that damage, in fact all of that damage, was from close range. 7 hits received, 6 penetrations, 1 did not. A little bit of splash damage as well. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 12 damaged, 9 killed, 2.5 kilometers travelled, and 23,500 credits. Would have been 42 with a premium account. So a very very nice game there from Old Skull. Personally, I think, okay, he made a couple of mistakes, but generally speaking, I think he played that fairly well, and was able to secure the win for his team. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that pair of games in Tier 7 Soviet medium tanks. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. And I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.